Well, welcome to an American Homestead, podcasting live from deep within the Ozark Mountains at an elevation of 2,200 feet. It is 8:30 Central, 9:30 Eastern, and it's good to be back. We're going to have a fun show for you guys tonight, and a lot to talk about. We're going to talk about meat, because there is a giant war on meat. And as homesteaders, this is a big deal for a lot of us. We want to raise our own animals. We want to raise them healthy and sustainably, in a healthy and sustainable fashion, so that not only we have meat, but maybe we can sell it to others and make a little bit of profit on the side as well. So, welcome to tonight's show. We are going to talk about this. I'm going to show you some articles. There was an article that was sent to me by one of our patrons, and we really appreciate all of our patrons over at patreon.com/AnAmericanHomestead. You can become a patron too by going over to patreon.com/AnAmericanHomestead. Link in the description below, and check that out. We get videos that are only behind the scenes videos that only they get, and some other things here and there that only they have access to as well. I really need to get back on the recipe cards. I have a whole bunch of recipe stuff that I need to do. I have not produced any in a while, and it's on my list. So I got a bunch of those coming to the patrons at some point. I'm really behind on that, so I'm really sorry. But in the meantime, I have some really cool stuff to go over tonight on the news front when it comes to homesteading. See a bunch of people in the... I think my gain is up really too. Let me turn this down a little bit. There we go. My gain on my microphone was a little bit too high. I saw it peaking on the red levels. I don't know why I was doing that. I didn't adjust it since last time, since I've been on here. But maybe I did. Let's go to the chat room. I see Rob Van Squirrel, Meredith 4 Mile Creek Farm, Celtic Roots Farm, Pitts Chapel. A lot of farms here. Pitts Chapel Farm. Mindy Keegan, who helps produce all of our Teespring merchandise. Also, look at this, guys. Check this out. Look at that. See, this is what you call manly. Manly. It's called a beard, okay? And says, beards are an acquired taste. Don't like them? Acquire some taste. Her and her husband are a great team, and they put that stuff together for me. I appreciate that. And not only are you supporting the homestead, if you get some of our Teespring merch or coffee cup stuff in the description below, link in the description below, you're also supporting another family as well who helps me with all that. So I really appreciate them, and I appreciate all you guys when you buy some of the t-shirts and stuff like that. This is our number one bestseller shirt. There is no doubt about it. The Stupid Should Hurt shirt, because really stupid should hurt. And if there was a lot more hurt, there'd be a lot less stupid in the world. And so that's why this is our bestseller. And for some reason, we could not put this link on YouTube anymore. It was like going to nowhere. I need to see if I can fix that. I don't know if YouTube restricted. Also, our Freedom shirt that we had for sale too. It's still in Teespring. If you go to teespring.com, click on those links to go see the shirts, you can still find the shirt. But for some reason, I can't display it on the YouTube underneath the video anymore. I don't know why. Maybe they restricted it. I'm still trying to figure it out. But this is also definitely our top seller. Stupid Should Hurt. But you can find, if you click on our Teespring link, you can go there and find the shirt still. Also the Freedom shirt as well. And these awesome coffee mugs. So I just got that in the mail the other day. She sent that over. I'm drinking Ticino French Roast, non-caffeinated. Tastes just like coffee, but it's not coffee. It's dandelion. I love it. And it seems like for the last 2 live streams, they've all been demonetized. I don't know why. It's just everything's been demonetized all my live streams have been demonetized since at least for the last 2 of them. So we'll see if this one gets demonetized too. It's getting really insane out there, and I think I'm going to start posting on Steam It again. I'm really waiting for Lighthouse to launch. I'm really excited about that when that launches. Let's go back to the chat. See who's all here tonight. I'm a Ladybug, Sue Davidson, Christy B, Christina Benevendo, myself and I, sorry. Brenda Henderson, Amy Gunther, The Missing Link, Curious Carol, Farm Girl Rebel, Crypt Keeper. That's kind of That sounds kind of the Crypt Keeper. The Crypt Keeper's in the house. So good to see y'all here, and let's go ahead and jump into this news. You guys are not going to believe this. This is insane. If you're a homesteader, if you want to grow your own meat, if you want to raise your own animals, this is where we're heading. So get ready, folks. Okay, this is where we're heading. It's been going this way for the last number of years. But before we get into the article I want to show you, let's show you this article first. Let me go ahead and show you my screen so I can pull that up. There we go. So this came out May 21st, 2020. I just want to show you, by showing you this article, that this is nothing new, okay? This is something that's been going out there for a while now. It's been going on, and it's a movement that's growing in steam, and most people are not going to jump on board with this. Most people love their meat. They like their red meat, okay? They like their chicken. They like their hot dogs. They like their... I know some people eat pork. I don't eat pork, but, some people love their... I love my ribeye steaks, right? I love my hot wings. See, that's all meat. But there are people out there who look at you with disdain, and, this is something that's been growing. It's a movement, okay? It says, if you care about the working poor, about racial justice, and about climate change, you have to stop eating animals. Okay, so this was in the New York Times, and this was last year. Is any panic more primitive than the one prompted by the thought of empty grocery store shelves? Is any relief more primitive than the one provided by comfort food? Most everyone has been doing more cooking these days, more documenting of the cooking, and more thinking about food in general. The combination of meat shortages and President Trump's decision to order slaughterhouses open, despite the protestations of endangered workers, has inspired many Americans to consider just how essential meat is. Yes, I can't remember how many times I've just sat there wondering how essential. Is this really essential? Okay. Is it more essential than the lives of the working poor who labor to produce it? It seems so. An astonishing 6 out of 10 countries that the White House itself identified as coronavirus hotspots are home to the very slaughterhouses the president ordered open. In Sioux Falls, South Dakota, the Smithfield pork plant, which produces some 5% of the country's pork, is one of the largest hotspots in the nation. Yes, that horrible place called South Dakota where there's a conservative governor who doesn't allow mask mandates and other small business shutdowns. That horrible, horrible place of South Dakota. It's one of the largest hotspots in the nation for pork production. A Tyson plant in Perry, Iowa had 730 cases of the coronavirus, nearly 60% of its employees. At another Tyson plant in Waterloo, Iowa, another horrible, horrible red state, there was 1,031 reported cases among 2,800 workers. See, it's only conservatives that get coronavirus. This is back in 2020, remember. We know what the real numbers are now. Sick workers mean plant shutdowns, which has led to a backlog of animals. Some farmers are injecting pregnant sows to cause abortions. Others are forced to euthanize their animals, often by gassing or shooting them. It's gotten bad enough that a Senator Chuck Grassley, an Iowa Republican, has asked the Trump administration to provide mental health resources to hog farmers. Despite this grisly reality and the widely reported effects of the factory farm industry on America's lands, communities, animals, and human health long before this pandemic hit, around half of Americans say they are trying to reduce their meat consumption. Meat is embedded in our culture and personal histories in ways that matter too much, from Thanksgiving turkey to the ballpark hot dog. Meat comes with uniquely wonderful smells, tastes, with satisfaction that can almost feel like home itself. And what, if not, the feeling of home is essential. And yet, an increasing number of people sense the inevitability of impending change. Do we? Do we sense the inevitability of impending change? No, I sense the inevitability of a bunch of having nothing better to do, get in your business liberals who want to come in and change your life. That's what I sense. I don't know about you, but that's what I'm sensing. Animal agriculture is now recognized as a leading cause of global warming. According to The Economist, a quarter of Americans between the ages of 25 and 34 say they are vegetarians or vegans, which is perhaps the one reason sales of plant-based meats have skyrocketed, with Impossible and Beyond burgers available everywhere from Whole Foods to White Castle. White Castle, really? White Castle is selling Beyond burgers? Fake meat? I can't imagine. I can't imagine that from White Castles. I mean, when's the last time? Okay, all right. Let's. Everyone in the chat room, tell me when's the last time you had a White Castle. Our hand has been reaching for the doorknob for the last few years. COVID-19 has kicked open the door. I don't know. I haven't been reaching for the doorknob. I mean, I don't know about you. At the very least, it has forced us to look when it comes to a subject as inconvenient as meat. Yes, I can't think about meat with thinking about how inconvenient it is. I don't know about you, but I mean, to me, I can't think about meat. It's just so inconvenient. It is tempting to pretend unambiguous science is advocacy, to find solace in exceptions that could never be scaled, and to speak about our world as if it were theoretical. Okay, let's keep going. I just wasn't sure. Some of the most thoughtful people I know find ways not to give the problems of animal agriculture any thought, just as I find ways to avoid thinking about climate change and income inequality, not to mention the paradoxes in my own. This person must live. This person just. Can you imagine what it must be like to be this person who's writing like this? If this is really how they live their life, if this is really the thought processes that enter this person's brain, oh, it's so sad. One of the unexpected side effects of these months of sheltering in place is that it's hard not to think about the things that are essential to who we are. Yes. And of course, oh my gosh, we cannot protect our environment while continuing to eat meat regularly. This is not a refutable perspective. I refute that. I'm sorry, but I'm going to refute that. But a banal truism. Whether they become whoppers or boutique grass-fed steaks, cows produce an enormous amount of greenhouse gases. You know, folks, I remember back in the days. I'm 40 now, 45. I'll be 45 this year. And I remember the days back when, because I was an adult, back when Al Gore was saying that we're all going to die in 10 years if we don't stop the greenhouse gases, if we don't, move to carbon-based emissions, cars that, do not use fossil fuels, if we do not get rid of coal, if we do not, get rid of all these things, get rid of cows, we're all going to die. The glaciers are going to melt, and, New York will be underwater. But none of it's happened. He said in 10 years. Well, it's now 2021. This is all a bunch of garbage. It's insane. And anyone who's going to come and tell me that I have to give up my cows or my sheep or my chickens or animals because they emit greenhouse gases that's going to destroy the world, I'm going to punch you in the face. I mean, it's just really what it is. Now, see, this is how you get your YouTube video demonetized. Okay, let's continue on. According to the research director of Project Drawdown, a nonprofit organization dedicated to modeling solutions to address climate change, eating a plant-based diet is the most important contribution to every individual can make to reversing global warming. See, this is the most, forget the the combustible engine, in your driveway. No. Forget the fireplace. Forget, volcanoes. Well, I mean, I guess the individual, it's not, they don't have power over volcanoes. But still, forget everything else. No. You becoming a vegan is the most important contribution every individual can make. Americans overwhelmingly accept the science of climate change. Overwhelmingly? I mean, if you had told me 2 years ago that everyone would overwhelmingly accept wearing a mask like they do, I would have told you were insane. But obviously, I was wrong. I was absolutely incorrect because people out there are sheep. Americans overwhelmingly accept the science of climate change. A majority of both Republicans and Democrats say that the United States should have remained in the Paris Climate Accord. We don't need new information. We don't need new values. We only need to walk through the open door. We cannot claim to care about the humane treatment of animals while continuing to eat meat regularly. The farming system we rely on is woven through with misery. Modern chickens have been so genetically modified that their very bodies have become prisons of pain, even if we open their cages. Turkeys are bred to be so obese. Listen, I don't agree. I don't disagree with some of this. I mean, there are Tyson chicken farms all over the landscape of where I live. Okay, I've seen it. I mean, they do treat their chickens and turkeys pretty horribly. But see, I don't do that, okay? Not all, there are people who have made purchasing decisions that have forced a lot of these corporations to have better living conditions for many of these animals because that's what they buy. And that's what I would buy. When we lived in St. Louis, I only bought grass-fed cows. I would go out and we'd get a grass-fed cow. It would be butchered. It lived its entire life in the field, okay? And it ate grass. And the butcher that we had, the farmer that we had, was very particular about making sure his cows were only grass-fed. Okay. Turkeys are bred to be so obese that they are incapable of reproducing without artificial insemination. Actually, that's true. I mean, meat birds are like that. I mean, they're just not meant to live very long. They're bred to be, they're genetically made to be so big to have more meat on them. And we used to have our own turkeys here. They were heritage breed turkeys, and they did fantastic. They tasted fantastic, and they were not obese. They were very healthy. But, I get it. Some of the turkeys that you buy in the store today, many of them are bred that way. Mother cows have their calves ripped from them before weaning, resulting in acute distress that we can hear in their wails and empirically measure through the cortisol in their bodies. Guys, living on a farm, when you wean the animals, they all, express acute distress. That happens no matter what. Okay. Anyway, no label or certification can avoid these kinds of cruelty. We don't need any animal rights activists waving a finger at us. We don't need to be convinced of anything we don't already know. We need to listen to ourselves. We cannot. Oh, also, Times Tales. Check out the link in the description below of your video that you're watching right now, because we do offer Times Tales discounts if you click on our link, and every purchase you use to make goes to help our homestead, and it helps your kids learn math. Really amazing. All my kids learn their times tables with Times Tales. Anyway, I guess it sees the ad there because it knows that I'm on that site quite regularly. We cannot protect against pandemics while continuing to eat meat regularly. Much attention has been paid to wet markets, but factory farms, specifically poultry farms, are a more important breeding ground for pandemics. That's right. We have to get rid of these because they're breeding grounds for the next reason we have to wear masks for the rest of our lives. Further, the CDC reports that 3 out of 4 new or emerging infectious diseases are zoonotic, the result of our broken relationship with animals. Oh, it's just a broken relationship. My sheep just asked me the other day, he's like, hey, why is our relationship so broken? I didn't have an answer for him. It goes without saying that we want to be safe. We know how to make ourselves safer, but wanting and knowing are not enough. These are not my or anyone's opinions, despite a tendency to publish this information in opinion sections, and the answers to the most common responses raised by any serious questioning of animal agriculture aren't opinions. Do we need animal protein? No! We can live longer, healthier lives without it. Most American adults eat roughly twice the recommended intake of protein, including vegetarians who consume 70% of more than they need. People who eat diets high in animal protein are more likely to die of heart disease, diabetes, kidney failure. Of course, meat like cake can be a part of a healthy diet, but no sound nutritionist would recommend eating cake too often. If we let the factory farm system collapse, won't farmers suffer? No! The corporations that speak in their name while exploiting them will. There are fewer American farmers today than there were during the Civil War, despite America's population being nearly... That's because everything is corporate owned, guys. Okay? Yes, there are fewer American farmers today. That's because everything is owned by corporations. The farmers that are out there, the ones that are working, all work for corporations, and there are very, very few family farmers anymore. Despite America's population being nearly 11 times greater, this is not an accident, but a business model. The ultimate dream of the animal agricultural industrial complex is for farms to be fully automated. Transitioning toward plant-based foods and sustainable farming practices would create many more jobs than it would end. Don't take my word for it. Ask a farmer if he or she would be happy to see the end of factory farming. I can't imagine a farmer saying yes to that. But anyway, all of this nonsense, it just keeps going, and there's comments, and like most articles, the comments are just as funny as reading the article. But my point being is that here's the movement right here. We need to give up meat, and here's all the reasons. Number one, it's going to cause disease. It's going to cause you to die early, and it's going to increase the chances for pandemics. It's going to cause global warming, which is going to destroy the earth. This is why you cannot have meat anymore. And it's the same old tired excuses. Reasons that they gave, of all of this, 40 years ago, 20 years ago, back in the 70s, the world was going to die because of global freezing, and it never happened. Now it's global warming. Now that's all been proven a bunch of bunk, and now they're using the words climate change. The reason we have horrible weather systems that come through every once in a while is not because it's weather. No. It's because of climate change. All right, so here's a recent article that I wanted to show you. This came out just last month. Okay, could coloring our steaks blue help reduce the world's insatiable demand for meat? And it goes through, I'm not going to read this one to you, but it goes through all the reasons of why it's, they go all these different studies of how coloring plays a part in our diet and what we desire for food. And if you want to look this one up, it's on over at Frontier Science News, and just type in, coloring our steaks as the keyword in Google, and it'll bring you to this article, and you can read it for yourself. But really, it's just a basic push when it comes down to it for reducing the amount of meat that we eat. And this is again nothing new. This is something that is being pushed harder and harder as we go down the road we're on. So I'm leading up to this article. This article, this was the one that was sent to me by a patron just the other day. A couple weeks ago. Sorry, not the other day. Couple weeks ago. And I said I'd get to it in a video. This came out March 5th. So I think she sent it to me sometime mid-March, which was just last month because it's April now. A ballot initiative proposed, currently known as the Protect Animals from Unnecessary Suffering and Exploitation. Pause. Yeah, let's pause right here. Because, see, this bill in Colorado, it's a ballot initiative where people are going to be able to vote to criminalize husbandry practices would cost consumers and limit food availability. See, it's pushed as we need to stop the suffering and exploitation of animals. See, everyone loves that. Everyone can get behind, animal abuse. We need to end animal abuse. Oh, of course. Anyway, everyone would raise their hand to get behind that. But see, that's not what's happening here. That's not what's happening here at all. And they list things like bestiality and raping. I mean, things that are just completely outside the norm of most people's mindset. I mean, and we can all admit that most people's mindset is not normal today. But I mean, still, for even most of the abnormals out there, it's beyond the pale, right? It's beyond what they think about. So it's something that when you first read it, when you actually read the text of the ballot initiative, you want to get behind. You want to be like, oh yeah, I can do that. So. But when you read a little bit closer, it goes into more detail because there's some other things that are included with this ballot initiative. See, that's how you get a ballot initiative passed. You make it look so obvious, and then you have some other things associated with it so that people don't know what they're really voting for. Okay, is awaiting an appearance before the title board after being filed with the Colorado Secretary of State. Anybody in the chat room from Colorado? Raise your hand. Proponents Alexander Sage of Broomfield and Brent Johannes of Boulder penned the proposed changes to the criminal cruelty to animal statutes. As written, the ballot initiative would include livestock and would criminalize some actions that are currently accepted animal husbandry practices. See, it's not talking about bestiality or anything like that. No. It's talking about other things. In the comment and review hearing, proponents said the goal of the initiative is to raise the quality of life of all domesticated animals in the state by amending the statutes to ensure animals are treated with more dignity, by closing what they call a loophole in the definition of a sexual act with an animal. Okay, everyone's going to get behind that one. And requiring livestock to reach 25% of its natural lifespan prior to slaughter. Now, for those of you in the chat room who have chickens, if you allowed your meat birds to achieve 25% of its natural lifespan before you killed it, is anybody else out there eating a chicken that's a year old? I'm just asking the question. If you haven't, this is an experience you should not let pass you by. Because it's like chewing on tires. It's like chewing on, a baseball glove. If you don't know what I mean, go find a chicken that's a year old, an old rooster, and, have that for dinner and tell me how that goes. 25% of its natural lifespan? Folks, a sheep lives about anywhere from, depending on sheep breeds, 10 to 15 years. Let's just say 11 years. If a sheep lives 11 years, the very definition of lamb is a sheep that's less than a year old. That is the definition of lamb meat. Lamb chops, different cuts of lamb. A lamb is less than a year old. If you and mutton is what you call sheep when it's over a year old or, over a year and a half. because actually technically a year and a half, anything less than a year and a half is mutton lamb, anything less than a year is lamb, and anything over a year and a half is mutton. Now, if you enact something that prevents a sheep from being slaughtered until it's lived 25% of its natural lifespan, there is no more lamb meat. Lamb is gone. Lamb is off the menu. It's the same with cows. Most cows are butchered within, 18, a year and a half to 2 years, depending on, who's raising it or what they're raising it for, whatever. But there would be no more veal. Veal, that would get rid of that real quick. But even then, you're talking about farmers who would have to raise their cattle much longer before it could be slaughtered, and that raises the price of it. So the reality is this is you're raising the price of meat so high that no one except people who can really afford it will ever buy it. This is a ballot initiative currently in the process of being considered in the state of Colorado. And it goes through all this right here. And of course, there's the sexual act with an animal, all this stuff, things that everyone is going to be like, oh yeah, well, duh. But it's this thing right here. Natural lifespan for the following species shall be explicitly defined here based on statistical estimates. A cow lives to 20 years, a chicken lives to 8 years, a turkey lives to 10 years, a duck lives to 6 years, a pig lives to 15 years, a sheep lives to 15 years, a rabbit lives to 6 years. So that's the natural lifespan. So if you have a cow, you can't butcher your cow until it's lived at least 5 years, 25% of its natural lifespan. On its fifth birthday, then what would it be? Yeah, its 5th birthday, you can butcher it. Okay, a chicken, 8 years. What's the 25%? I don't know, but do the math. It's definitely longer than normal. Chickens are butchered anywhere from 12 to 16 weeks, I think. Sometimes 8 weeks, depending on the chicken and breed and everything. So there's no way you're ever going to have chicken tenders ever again in your life if a bill or if a ballot initiative like this gets passed. Excuse me. The proposed initiative includes livestock and the updated definition of animals and defines natural lifespan as 20 years for cattle. Okay, so it goes through all that. So that's the reality. And what this is saying is what the proponents are saying, hey, well, listen, it's okay. If you can still raise animals in Colorado, but if you want to have them slaughtered, you have to slaughter them outside the state lines. But all that does is raise the cost of the animal because you have to move the animal outside of Colorado and then move the meat back into Colorado so people in Colorado can eat meat. All that raises the price. What they're doing is they're trying to figure out ways to make meat unaffordable. And thus, people will buy more of this Impossible Burger, whatever this fake meat stuff is that they're selling out there. More people will buy that because it's more affordable. And look, it tastes like meat. It looks like meat, and, it's cheap. It's cheap. Go ahead and buy that. And people will start buying it and they'll just, just like they put the mask on every day, they'll just do what they're told. It's cheaper. It's better, they say. And you're saving the environment and you're lessening the chance of you dying with disease. New coronaviruses or you dying of diabetes because you're not eating this meat. You're eating plants. That's highly processed foods. Remember the days back when you could pick up something in the supermarket, a box of something, and you looked on the ingredients and you knew what all the ingredients were? Those days are long gone. Those days are long gone. It's all gone. All gone. Goodbye. Yeah, currently cattle are slaughtered anywhere at around 24 months of age and an average live weight of 1,400 pounds. To extend the growing time to meet the 60-month of age requirement, the remaining growing time would have to take place on grass. According to Travis Taylor, a Colorado State University livestock extension agent, the additional 3 years would equal approximately 27,000 additional pounds of feed per animal based on average feed consumption and body weight. Do the math. Okay, conservatively, he said, this could mean an additional $1,200 per animal in feed input alone, assuming similar finished weights. He said the price of a pound of beef sold to consumers would increase $2 per pound prior to the inclusion of additional expenses incurred in the 3 years, not including health vaccinations, because, our cows have to be vaccinated against coronavirus. Transport is a big one. Transport, if you're in the middle of the state, you're a butcher or you're a rancher in the middle of the state, you have to move your cows out of the state to get butchered and then move them back in. $2 per pound, I don't think that's right. I just don't. I think it's probably double or triple that. The consumers, according to Terry Fankhauser, Executive Vice President of the Colorado Cattlemen's Association, are the ones who would truly pay the price for this attack on the state's $7 billion livestock industry. And it's not just Colorado, guys. They're doing this in all kinds of places. They're trying to raise the price to where it's impossible for you to buy it. Or it's a very hard choice. It's a luxury that you would only do once in a while. And at that point, once they get it to that level, they can eliminate it completely. There's going to be no uproar at you, them getting rid of it, and you're just going to deal with it. You're not going to. There'll be so little uproar that it won't be noticeable. It won't be noticeable. All right, I'm going back to the chat. And see what's what. What are you guys thinking about all this? What are we thinking? Because this is what's coming. So this is a recent article. This is where they're pushing it, and all we can do is just kind of drink our tea with the manly beard on the cup. Let's see. Let me go here. Scroll down. Haha, that's hilarious. He says, "I'll go vegetarian before I eat that fake crap." Well, that you would be vegetarian. That's the whole point. Impossible Burger meat isn't cheap. Yeah, I know it's not cheap, but they're going to make it cheaper than the real stuff. See, it's at the very beginning. I mean, this is new technology. As technology improves, cost goes down. As new competitors come up for the Impossible Burger and all these Beyond Meat and all these other different companies that are producing this stuff, as competition lowers prices. So it's expensive now because they're the only people, there's only a few players in the game. But as technology improves, competition increases, costs go down. And so they'll make this affordable, very affordable. And you won't be able to afford the good stuff anymore. Unless you're rich, unless you raise it yourself, which is another reason to homestead. It's absolute insanity. Tell them to blow it out their wazoo. That's where "he's a tough old bird" phrase came from. That's actually absolutely correct. I've had chicken that's, a year old or more than, 6 months old or something like that. I mean, it's tough. It's not good eating at all. Tesla, Al Gore's buddy. Electric car, same as meat. Yeah, I just absolutely don't understand where we're going. In Colorado, we already pay $8.49 for 90% grass-fed organic ground beef. Yeah. I don't know what I'm paying for a pound for grass-fed organic ground beef. I'm not sure. I haven't bought it in a while because I don't need to. I have lamb burger in the freezer. It's actually lamb, less than a year old. I horrifically killed my sheep before it had lived 25% of its natural lifespan. I'm about to do it to another one out there too in a minute. Well, a couple days. In a minute. I'll be right back. Well, they will put you in the gulag. Biden's as sharp as a pillow. You're right, Sue. This is all just one big manipulation. It's absolutely right. This is all just one big giant manipulation. So this is one of the reasons why you want to get a homestead. And I think I'm going to probably do a video coming up for my patrons on why, there's a lot of you guys out there looking for land, and I'm going to kind of talk about this, I think, in a video coming up for my patrons. I have a woman who's one of my patrons, and she messaged me. Her and her husband are looking for land right now, and they just can't find it, looking for a homestead, and they just can't find it. They're desperately wanting to get out. That's why I tell people, get out of the cities, get out. And they're trying to, but they can't. The market right now is so hot. People are buying properties sight unseen, and the prices are going through the roof. And I think I'm about to tell people to stop. There might be better options for you. And I know some people don't want to hear that, but I'm going to go over that in detail and a video to my patrons coming up soon, because it just needs to be addressed, and just maybe give you something to think about, maybe a piece of advice, real estate wise. It's getting to be impossible. Stay tuned. If you're a patron, stay tuned. If you're not a patron, go over to patreon.com/AnAmericanHomestead. That video will be coming out in the next week or so, because I need to do it soon. This week's almost over, so probably next week or after the weekend, right after the weekend. Land is hard to come by in my neck of the woods, southern Minnesota. Yeah, it's just getting out. It's getting crazy. It's getting out of hand. So I have a real estate friend, and I was asking her. I said, I saw this property in Baltimore on the news yesterday, or the day before yesterday, and it was a rundown ranch house. Really needs some work. Really needs some TLC. 1,800 square foot ranch in Baltimore. 1,800 square foot. Desperately needs TLC. Looks pretty bad. Like they said in the description, don't walk out on the deck. The deck may collapse on the back deck any moment. So stay off. It just needs a lot of TLC. Thanks for the super chat, GP Van. I really appreciate that. Yeah, there you go. Gave you a coffee icon. So did you get that? 1,800 square foot rundown house in Baltimore. It listed 1,800 square feet rundown house in Baltimore. It listed for $250,000. $250,000 for an 1,800 square foot rundown house in Baltimore. It did not sell for $250,000. No. Over 80 offers later, it sold for over $500,000. $500,000. 80 offers later, over $500,000 for an 1,800 square foot rundown ranch house in Baltimore. That's when you know that the market's too hot. That's when you know that we're at the very peak. And man, there could be a... Watch out. Okay, we'll get to that more later on. Okay, the mermaid's in here. Welcome to the neighborhood, Tanya. Awesome. I just bought 25 acres of land not far from you. Closed on Monday this week. We got in just in the nick of time. Awesome. Good to hear it. Good deal. Yep, even the garbage land by us is selling for $30,000 an acre. Yeah, it's just at $30,000. That's crazy. I mean, you must be. I don't know where you're at for $30,000 an acre. So are eggs off the table? Also, since they don't even get to hatch. Yeah. So the egg has not lived 25% of its lifespan. It's still in the egg. Yeah, I don't know how they deal with that. What is the expected executive order concerning guns expected to be issued? I don't know. I'm waiting to see. I don't know what he can do. That's just all going to have to wait and see. Biden is supposed to announce his executive order on gun control coming up in the next day or so, or even I thought that was going to be today, but I didn't see anything. Found 11 acres off the Arkansas River in Arkansas, 3-bed, 2-bath with pond and well, $209,000. Want to jump on it, but can't right now. Don't doubt it. Can't keep a property listed for more than 2 days here. I think Chris is in Illinois. Lisa Haas, I appreciate the super chat. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you very much. That's awesome. I've never gotten super chats before. It's like the first time. I don't even know what I do with those. I guess I'll find out. I don't know what to do with those. Our property value has increased 30% in the last 2 years. Yeah, I mean, ours is too. I haven't even checked with I know where our property taxes are going up a little bit, but our property taxes here are like nothing. They're like, I think we paid as a total for all property taxes, including vehicles, land, everything. I think we paid less than $500. I'm not sure on that, but I'm pretty sure it was less than $500. When we first moved here, everything was less than $300. And that was including vehicles. Okay, and we have 4 vehicles. So I think that's pretty good. I don't know. I meet people all the time who are paying thousands of dollars every year in property taxes, but I think ours is less than $500 now. It was like less than $300 before when we first moved here. So it's gone up a little bit, not much. It's no coincidence. Let's see, 12,126 acres well pump. I'm not sure what that is. You have to keep the eggs for 7 days and all bloody and stringy, and then you can abort them and eat them once they've reached 25% of maturity. This is due to massive money printing and low mortgage rates to suck people in debt and then repo it later when your job ends. They get it back and resell it. Vicious cycle of debt. I kind of agree with that, Sue, with some caveats. But the thing is to get out of debt and have some commodities like gold, silver, something that is tangible that you can use to pay your get out of debt as best you can. Here's the deal: if the massive money printing comes, let's just say you owe $100,000 on a property, and massive hyperinflation comes, which it will, and that debt inflates away. Okay, so you're going unless they have the ability, and some people may have this happen. I'm not an expert by any means, but if your interest rate is fixed, you're golden, I think. If it's not, and they can adjust your interest rate, they can adjust your interest rate to 1,000,000%, and you're just going to keep paying inflated dollars. But if you owe $100,000 and massive hyperinflation comes, your debt is going to inflate away, and it's now going to cost $100,000 to buy a loaf of bread at the store. Don't think I'm kidding. That's happened before in many countries, in the past. Do your research on history. So, if it's now $100,000 to buy a loaf of bread at the store, you can, instead of buy a loaf of bread at the store, you can just go down to the bank and pay off your bank note and be debt free. So that's how that works. It's okay to be that kind of debt if inflation happens, if you have some tangible assets that you can use to convert into fiat currency that will allow you to do that. Because in tangible assets, tangible commodities do not lose their value. Fiat dollars lose their value. So that's why I keep telling people over and over again, have some gold and silver, have something that's tangible assets that you can use to, when inflation hits, and it will hit, it is coming, that you can use to stay afloat. Because right now, silver is on a fire sale. If you're not buying some silver, if you don't have at least 25 ounces of silver, in your hands, not owned by someone else, you can keep it stored somewhere else. That's a good idea to have it stored off-site. That's good. But if you don't have access to 25 ounces of silver, that's what, $800 or something like that. Let's see. Let me get my calculator. Silver today was I don't know, $24, but the premium, let's just say $34 because you're going to pay a premium. So 35, let's just 35 times 25. That's $875. Take $875. Find something. Get $875 and buy 25 ounces of silver. Because the buying power of that, $875 times the normal buying power of that would be around $1,400. Let's just say, hold on. 25 ounces. Wait, I got to clear this. 25 ounces times 1,400. 35. See, that's the equivalent of $35,000 of buying power. Historically, for the last 2,000 years. It only changed in 1913 with Woodrow Wilson, the bringing on of the central bank. But for 2,000 years, those 25 ounces of silver had $35,000 of buying power through 2,000 years of time. Same amount. Didn't change because precious metals don't change. $35,000. And today you can buy the same $35,000 of buying power for $875. If you're not doing that, this is not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. Okay. Don't listen to anything I say. Okay. Gotta put that out there. But man, yeah, silver was just $14 a few years back. It's still on fire sale. It's still on fire sale. Get some. Because when it's coming, and it's coming, man. Tucson, Arizona, property taxes on 5 acres was $5,500 a year. I don't know why. Guys, if you're in the desert, get out of the desert too. Find somewhere where it rains. Because if they ever shut the water off, you're in big trouble. They don't want us to even own property. Yeah, remember, you will own nothing and be happy. Exactly. Zach, are they going to not throw the silver and gold in the streets? Yeah, that's at the day of judgment. Everyone who sort of knows their Bible throws that verse at me. But Zach, they're going to throw their gold and silver in the streets. That's on the great day of judgment. Okay, yeah, when the great day of judgment happens, that won't matter. But until that day, there has never ever been a time in history, never, where gold and silver didn't matter. But Zach, I can't take my gold piece and buy a cup of coffee with it. No. They didn't have gold pieces back then. They had gold pieces, but they also had silver pieces and they had copper pieces. And absolutely, people would go into the store and buy a sandwich with a piece of copper. Because you go back on a monetary standard of precious metals, copper is a precious metal. Gold, silver, copper. So don't tell me you can't buy something with your gold coin. You can't buy a piece of bread. No. You will. You can change that out for silver and copper, and you will be able to buy bread, and you'll have. It's the same thing that you do today. You don't buy a sandwich with a $100 bill. No. You buy it with a $100 bill, and they give you change back. Same with silver and copper. You'll get change back. That's the way it works. It's the way it's always worked throughout history. Be a student of history. Go ahead and look it up. People say, "Well, Zach, you can't eat gold." There's never been a time in history where someone has not taken gold and then, traded you for that gold for food. Never. There's been times in history where they won't take fiat and give you a sandwich. Lots of times throughout history. Lots. Hundreds of times. Hundreds. I think it's there's a list you can find online of all the times fiat currency has failed throughout history. I think it's over 300 times, 400 times, something like that. Who do you trust in buying silver, Zach? Not financial advice. I would AppMex. If you don't have a coin dealer nearby, like if you're in St. Louis, the St. Louis area, you have Scotsman's. I believe they're on Olive Boulevard. That's who I used to go to. You'll have way less premium if you buy from a coin dealer if they have it in stock. So try to find a local coin dealer if you can. And if not, AppMex is probably your next best bet. AppMex.com. And there's a lot of good places out there. Just do your research. But AppMex is very, very reliable. Is it going to get even? Sue Davison is going to get even worse. Buy all you can afford ASAP. I mean, again, not financial advice, guys. Beans, bullets, and band-aids. Not beans, bullets, and band-aids. I don't know what to predict. I don't know what's coming. You just gotta watch the show. But I know history, and because I'm a student of history, I've seen this happen over and over again. And when they're printing as much as they even stopped, they said just the other day, they're no longer going to report the M2 money supply. They're printing so many dollars now, they don't even want to report it anymore because they don't want you to know how much is out there. It's gotten that astronomical. So when I'm a student of history and I look throughout history when other times this has happened, hyperinflation. And don't buy into this story where they say there's no hyperinflation, there's no inflation. Anyone who goes to a supermarket, anyone who goes to buy a car, anyone who goes to buy normal things that average normal people buy knows that inflation, the prices of everything almost is going up. Go to a hardware store and buy a 2x4 and compare it to a price of a 2x4 just 6 months ago, a year ago. It's like tripled or quadrupled in price. So don't tell me there's no inflation. Don't tell me there's only 2% inflation because that's insane. So, all right, guys, I appreciate it. Let's go ahead and look at the chat here. Bug out ready and generators. Yeah, generators, good to you. Glenn Bex is just stocking up on luxury items such as cigars, whiskey, fine jewelry, watches, nice coffee. Okay. Okay. Yes, James, buy actual silver. Actual silver. I think I have a coin. That's a silver dime, Roosevelt dime, dated 1964 because that was the last year silver was made. I don't know, is that coming through on my thing? Probably can't see it. That's a silver dime, 1964. Yes, actual silver. See, there's no copper line on that. It's pure silver. I'm sorry, it's 90% silver. There you go, something like that. This is, I keep this on my desk for the other channel. This is British sixpence. It's the same size as the modern day dime. So a sixpence was the same as a modern day dime. Thus why you see in the Bible sometimes a denarius is called a pence because it was King James English written in the British in Great Britain. So they were referring to the same size as a 2,000-year-old denarius, which is right here. This denarius is about 1,800 years old. So you can see they're about the same size. So in the Bible, in the King James, they called it a pence because it was the same size as the old 2,000-year-old denarius. So it's Matthew chapter 20, I think. Okay. Awesome. I love the history lessons. Guys, I'm a student of history. I just love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. All right, guys, we're going to wrap it up there, and we'll catch you next time. I haven't done a live stream in a long time. We'll see if YouTube demonetizes this one. I'm placing my bets. We'll see what they do. All right, guys, love y'all, and see you next time on American Homestead. Oh, check out our merchandise over at teespring.com. We got these awesome coffee cups. If you have a beard, you need one of these, definitely in your kitchen for sure. And also, check out the Stupid Should Hurt. If we had more hurt, there'd be less stupid. See you next time in the Homestead. Bye!